passengers, co-pilots, shotgun callers, blunderbuss bellowers, and midnight riders. Welcome to another episode of Full Moon Empty Road. As always, I'm Jeremy, and I'll be your driver tonight. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and I hope you're ready for another road trip. We're going cross country tonight to San Diego, California. Destination, the Whaley House. So get in, buckle up, grab the rock salt, and let's ride. We have work to do. So we are headed to 2476 San Diego Avenue to the former estate, now museum, known as the Whaley House. A Greek Revival style residence, a California historical landmark and museum located in Old Town San Diego, California. It is currently maintained by the Historic Tours of America Incorporation. It is the oldest brick structure in South California. The Whaley House was the home of Thomas Whaley and his family. At various times, it also housed Whaley's General Store, San Diego's Second County Courthouse, and the first commercial theater in San Diego. The house witnessed more history than any other building in the city. Thomas Whaley, of Scots-Irish origin, was born on October 5, 1823 in New York City, the seventh child in a family of 10. Whaley took over his father's successful business relations, then left New York on January 1, 1849. He went cross-country and traveled to San Francisco during the California Gold Rush, where he engaged in business. He then went to San Diego in September of 1851. 2 years later, he went back to New York and married Anna Eloise Delaney on August 14th, 1853. Together, they returned to California, arriving in San Diego on December 7th, 1853, and on August 22nd of 1857, the Whaleys moved into their new home, now known as the Whaley House. Thomas and Anna had 6 children. Francis Hinton, born December 28, 1854. Thomas Whaley Jr., born August 18, 1856. Anna Amelia, born June 27th of 1858. George Hay Ringgold, born November 5th, 1860. Violet Eloise, born October 14th, 1862. And Corinne Lillian, born September 4th, 1864. Francis Hinton was named after a business partner. Thomas Whaley Jr. suffered from scarlet fever at 18 months and died on January 29, 1858. After the death of baby Thomas and the loss of their store by fire, Thomas and Anna moved to San Francisco. In January of 1859, Whaley turned his affairs in Old Town over to Frank Ames, a Wells Fargo agent. In the summer of 1868, Thomas invested some of his new capital of stock in merchandise and headed back to San Diego. Thomas fixed up the old Whaley House, and Anna and the rest of the family arrived back home to San Diego on December 12, 1868. On January 5th of 1882, Violet Whaley and Anna Amelia were both married in old San Diego. Violet married George T. Bertolacci, and Anna Amelia wed her first cousin, John T. Whaley, son of Henry Hurst Whaley, inside the family home. Unfortunately for Violet, just shortly after their nuptials, her new husband revealed to her in a letter of his sordid past. Bertolacci vowed to prove his worthiness, but Mr. and Mrs. Whaley would try to sever all contact. Suffering from melancholy, Violet committed suicide by shooting herself in the chest with Thomas's .32 caliber on August 19, 1885. She was then 22 years old. Her suicide note read thus: "Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled anywhere, out of this world." The suicide note is a passage from Bridge of Sighs, a poem by Thomas Hood. This particular poem is also offered up by Edgar Allan Poe as an example of painting with words. He spoke of it, and it was referenced in his published works during his lectures. I just want to break a minute, tell just kind of where that little excerpt of her, well, I guess excerpt, her suicide note was a passage from Bridge of Sighs. Now, Bridge of Sighs holds a particular place in my heart, and now that's actually in the form of the Robin Trower song. Robin Trower is an English blues musician, and back in my days as a musician, when I discovered a love for the blues, if I remember correctly, my dad had me check out that album when my guitar playing kind of turned from strictly rock to blues. To me, it kind of sounded like he was waiting for the day that my playing took a turn into that particular genre. I actually remember him asking me one day, I think this was around the time that I was actually in a band for a very short amount of time. I mean, we didn't play any shows or anything. We kind of, joined up, started practicing, and then everything just kind of fell off. But we were kind of going for a more bluesy sound. And I had recorded one of our practice sessions and, was letting my dad listen to it. And he was like, he said, I've been wanting to, he said, have you ever heard of Robin Trower? And I said, no, I haven't. And he said, well, I've been waiting for the day. He said, I've been meaning to tell you about it for a little bit. And he said, and hearing you play like that, he said, I kind of, want to have you check out this album. I think that was actually called Bridge of Sighs. Had title track Bridge of Sighs on it. I mean, I fell in love with it instantly. It was such a phenomenal album. So that, reading that during my research, I was like, hey, that kind of hits me in a different way. Back to the Whaley family. Corinne Lillian was engaged at the time of her sister's death, but her fiancé broke off the engagement due to the scandal it raised. After these tragic events, Thomas Whaley built a single-story frame home for his family at 933 State Street in downtown San Diego, and the family moved into the new residence, leaving the Whaley House vacant for over 2 decades. Frances Whaley married Susan Murray in Mendocino, California on December 31st, 1888. On December 14th, 1890, Thomas Whaley died due to ill health at the State Street address. Anna Amelia Whaley died at Modesto, California on December 12th, 1905. Meanwhile, the old Whaley House remained vacant and fell into disrepair. In late 1909, Francis Whaley undertook the restoration of the building and turned the home into a tourist attraction, where he posted signs promoting its historicity and historicity, and entertained visitors with his guitar. Hey, we're back to guitar stuff. Anna Whaley, Thomas's widow, Corinne Lillian, Francis, and George all lived in the old Whaley House in 1912. On February 24th, 1913, Anna died at age 80. A year later, Francis Whaley died on November 19th of 1914. George Whaley died on January 5th, 1928 in San Diego, and Corinne continued residency in the house until her death in 1953. 7 years later, the historic house opened as a museum on May 25th of 1960, managed by the San Diego Historical Shrine Foundation, a nonprofit organization formed in 1956 and led by James E. Redding and June A. Strudwick Redding. June Redding served as the director of the Whaley House Museum from 1960 until her death in January of 1998. The Whaley House has been maintained by Save Our Heritage organization since 2000. Since 2007, a live-in caretaker has lived on the property to prevent theft and vandalism. The 2-story Greek Revival house was designed by Thomas Whaley himself, and construction began on May 6th of 1856. It was completed in 1857. The cost of the house was more than $10,000. It was made from bricks created in Whaley's brickyard on Conde Street. The house was the first of its kind in San Diego. Thomas Whaley was quoted during the building of the house saying, "My new house, when completed, will be the handsomest, most comfortable and convenient place in town or within 150 miles from here." Whaley's new house was known as the finest in Southern California. The house was furnished with mahogany and rosewood furniture, Brussels carpet, and damask drapes, and was considered a mansion for its time and place. The residence became the gathering place for San Diego. Besides being the Whaley family home, it was also San Diego's first commercial theater, the county courthouse, and a general store. Imagine that these days, having your home be a theater and a general store and a courthouse. I think that'd drive anybody crazy. Not that anybody particularly went crazy within the Whaley family, but I mean, just imagine that today. We're all a bunch of shut-ins these days, especially after COVID hit, Most people are just like, hey, don't ever stop by. So just imagine having those different types of businesses in your own home. Moving on. In October of 1868, an upstairs family bedroom was converted into a theater after Thomas Whaley rented the room out to the Tanner Troupe, a local theater troupe traveling through San Diego at the time. For the troupe's opening night performance, the small room accommodated a stage, a few benches, and an astonishing 150 guests. Although it was mostly standing room only, and ladies had been advised not to wear their hoop skirts or petticoats that evening to allow for more room. The operator of the theater, Thomas Tanner, died just 17 days after opening, and his troupe had disbanded by the end of January 1869. The Whaley House also served as the county courthouse in 1869. For $65 a month, the county of San Diego leased the courtroom and 3 of the upstairs bedrooms. Another part of the Whaley House history was the Whaley and Crosswaith General Store, which was a wholesale and retail store. In the 1860s and 1870s, the house became the focal point of a battle between Old Town residents and residents of Newtown, which is currently downtown, for dominance of San Diego. The San Diego County government had been renting a portion of Whaley House for its offices and records. Whaley offered several times to sell the house to the county, but the offer was ignored. Newtowners demanded that the county offices and records be moved to Newtown. The issue dominated local elections, with Republicans favoring Newtown while Democrats favored Old Town. There were conflicting court orders. At one point, the local sheriff was ordered to seize Whaley House, but he refused. A judge ordered the removal of the 3 supervisors from the Board of Supervisors, and another judge tried to appoint 3 other men to the post. After several years of court battles, the California Supreme Court ordered the reinstatement of the 3 original supervisors, who ordered that the county records be moved to Newtown. Despite threats of armed resistance from the Old Towners, the records were moved on March 31, 1871, effectively shifting the focus of the city to Newtown. The Whaley House has been featured in many historical documentaries, as well as a wide variety of paranormal and sci-fi shows, including Sci-Fi Channel's Fact or Faked, Paranormal Files, and Travel Channel's America's Most Haunted, in which it was stated that the Whaley House was the most supernatural home in the United States. The Whaley House was mentioned in the 2007 animated movie Hellboy, Blood and Iron, in which one of the characters references the paranormal entity Yankee Jim. We're going to touch back on Yankee Jim here in just a minute. In 2012, the film studio Asylum released an independent low-budget movie titled The Haunting of Whaley House. Although the film was shot on location at the historic Bembridge House in Long Beach, California, the history and ghostly legends of the Whaley House were used as a basis for the movie. Asylum, I'm pretty sure, is the same company that made the story about, or I guess made the movie about the Ridges that took place. Well, that was actually back on episode 2. for Ohio University, the Ridges, which was formerly the Asylum. I think that was the same company that did that movie too. In 2012, the Whaley House was featured on the biography channel's The Haunting of Regis Philbin. Regis. While filming for a local San Diego morning show in 1964, Regis Philbin visited the Whaley House Museum and claimed to have a paranormal encounter with Miss Whaley. Philbin stated, "You know, a lot of people poo-poo it because they can't see it, but there was something going on in that house." And that said, that was back in 1964. I may need to look for that. Regis, I guarantee that's got to be at least a little bit funny because he was a goofball. On an episode of MTV's Ridiculousness, host Rob Dyrdek commented that he lived next to the most haunted house in California and would spend nights calling for Old Man Whaley. Now, Anna and I watch Ridiculousness. It's something she actually got me watching when we first got together. So I don't remember that, so I'm going to have to go back and look for that one. In 2014, the Whaley House was featured on Ghost Adventures as the main investigation of the series' 110th episode. Now, as far as hauntings go, the Whaley House has seen many, most notably from Yankee Jim. Like I said, we're going to touch back on Yankee Jim here in just a second, and here we are. A little backstory on Yankee Jim from GhostCityTours.com before we move into the hauntings. Yankee Jim Robinson had a reputation of being a troublemaker in San Diego. He was a drunk and a horse thief and was just about despised by everybody in town. Everybody was itching to get rid of him once and for all, and it seems their chance had finally arrived. In 1852, Jim and two accomplices attempted to steal the Plutus, a schooner ship. So, a drunk, a horse thief, and now a boat thief, or a ship thief, however you want to describe that. Although Jim stated later on that he just merely wanted to borrow it, because he wasn't going to steal it. He was just borrowing it for a little while. Let's see. So yeah, that was Jim and two accomplices. The three men were subsequently captured, and Jim suffered a head injury from a rusty sword. The men awaited trial. Jim was given no representation and was suffering from a debilitating fever from his head injury. His two accomplices were each sentenced to 1 year in prison. Troublemaker, drunk, and thief Yankee Jim was sentenced to the gallows. It's rumored that the tree where Jim was hanged was the same plot of land where the Whaley House would end up being built on. And it is rumored that Thomas Whaley witnessed Yankee Jim's execution. Now, before I move on into the hauntings, I think it's funny that the guy's name is Yankee Jim. And so now, back when I did the Winchester Mansion episode, I mentioned that part of the reason it was chosen was back when Anna was younger. She lived in her grandparents' house, and to this day, just about anybody in her family that I have spoken to swears up and down that there is something there, possibly a haunting, possibly something demonic, But I've not met a family member of hers that was like, no, everybody else is just crazy. I'm the normal one, and there's nothing wrong with it. Now, every one of them's like, there's definitely something going on there. And one of the people, I think the guy that built it was named Windy Jim. So that Yankee Jim kind of jumped out to me. And from my understanding, Anna's grandfather, whenever he would hear something, he would say, that's just Windy Jim. Or, hush, Windy Jim, something like that. But I thought that was funny how, to me, that's how I kind of tied those two in. Nevertheless, reports have claimed a presence in the house where Jim was supposedly hanged. Even the Whaley family themselves have made similar claims. The house has frequently been cited as haunted, based on strange noises or sights reported by some visitors. In 2005, Life magazine called Whaley House the most haunted house in America. Shortly after the Whaley family moved in, they told the San Diego Union that they heard heavy footsteps in the house, which they believed to be the ghost of James Yankee Jim Robinson, who had earlier been hanged on the property for stealing a boat. Some visitors had reported seeing apparitions of Thomas Whaley or Anna Whaley. The following information comes from ghostsandgravestones.com. During its restoration periods, which took place several different times throughout the home's history, workers and visitors began to notice strange and mysterious sounds, sights, aromas, and encounters. Baby Thomas, who'd been the first in the family to pass away, had always stayed close by, as reported by many who have visited the home. They could hear tiny footsteps and the sound of him crying, even giggling when no one was in sight. Others report seeing a young woman lingering on the second floor of the house, believed to be poor Violet, still consumed with sorrow. She seems to stay close to the second floor, where she spent much of her time after her divorce before she committed suicide. It's said that the area within the home became quite cold, and her presence is felt throughout the house. Thomas, Anna, and several other spirits have also been felt within the home, on the stairwell and on the property. I had that one written weird. Thomas, Anna, and several other spirits have also been felt within the home, on the stairwell, and on the property. Many have seen Thomas dressed in his frock, coat, and top hat, standing at the top of the stairs. Mist, lights turning on and off by themselves, crystals in the music room's lamps swinging without any prompt, all signs that the Whaley House still belongs to the many who call it home over the years. Although no one has lived in the house since 1953, the spirits of the dead are still there, waiting for visitors. Workers on the site and guests who've toured the house tell accounts of many unusual and spooky encounters. Some say they've seen a figure looking out the upstairs window long after the house was closed for the day. Others have seen curtains moving even though all the windows have been sealed shut. The sounds of children running up and down the stairs can be heard without anyone being seen. Footsteps, cold spots, the appearance and disappearance of shadows have all been seen, felt, and heard by the guests. One story comes from the mouth of a former Whaley House employee. People have reported seeing the apparition of a little girl in the dining room. The employee claims it's the spirit of Annabelle Washburn, a playmate of the Whaley children. The story goes that while she was outside playing, Anna ran into a low-hanging clothesline and broke her neck. Thomas then found her and placed her in the dining room table, where she died. Yet no record of the incident or the child is known to exist. So if Annabelle Washburn never existed, who's haunting the dining room? So, that is a rundown of history and hauntings of the Whaley House. And I had noticed that I really hadn't done a haunted house episode since the Loretta Lynn episode back in October, early October. Actually, I think it was October 1st. So I kind of wanted to look up a haunted house to go, and run with, since we did a foundry last time. I didn't want to go back to a foundry or a furnace or something, any sort of industrial building. So I figured, since it's been a while, it's a good time to jump back into a haunted house. So let me know what you think of the Whaley House episode. You can reach out to me on any of my social medias. FMER Podcast on Facebook, FMER Podcast on Instagram, Full Moon Empty RD on Twitter, and Full Moon Empty Road on TikTok. Everyone, please feel free to share this podcast out. Tell your friends and family. Just share it to your social media. Share it on, every one of them that you got. Let's kind of notice that follower growth and listener growth has slowed, and I kind of want to pick that back up. Now, that's kind of been my fault, because for the last few weeks I've not really been too consistent with everything. But, if you can, just share it out. Help me get everything out there, and let's kind of get some followers picked up here. No update on the merchandise thing yet. I'm still working on that. That's actually taken quite a bit to figure out. But yeah, I am working on it, but just no update at this particular point in time. If you have any recommendations on episodes, drop me a line at fullmoonemptyroad@gmail.com, or holler at me at one of my social medias that I've already mentioned. And again, thank you guys so much for dropping in, checking out the episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, let's go home.